In this video, I'll talk about how some of the Alumiglow sight kits, paint and molded parts, can be used. The paint and molded pieces are luminescent and they'll glow visibly for up to an hour, just a few seconds of charge under a light. And we have three kits. The first one contains a 2.2 ml pre-filled syringe with some dispensing tips and a clear coat, along with a razor blade. The second kit contains 14 molded pieces and the accessories you need. And those U shapes and circles you see there are designed to fit the sights of Generation 3 and 4 Glocks. And our third kit is a combination of 1 and 2 put together. So let's go through an example of using the paint in the pre-filled syringe to paint some dot sights. Now the kit comes packaged, as you see here, in that plastic bag with the product insert and the syringe and the components. And up in the right-hand corner, I'm just showing an example of how quickly you can charge up that paint and how brightly it will glow once we turn the lights off to it. So right now I'm taking some of the dispensing tips out of the kit. It comes with 3. They're very cheap if you need to buy more. And they're single use. And we're going to use that to control our paint flow. The kit also contains a pipette, and that pipette goes along with this clear coat. And that clear coat is what we will apply to our paint once it's dried to make sure we keep grime and dirt and water off it from damaging it. The kit also contains a razor blade. Be careful when you open it not to cut yourself or when you're using it during any of the kitting processes. And so let's get started. We're going to paint the sights on this model with that glow paint and using that syringe. So we're going to take our syringe and we're going to take that lure lock cap off. When you get it new, it's probably going to be on there pretty tight, so I had to really untighten it pretty harshly to get it off the first time. Take the cap off, make sure you don't lose it. Get one of those dispensing tips, screw it on hand tight, don't go overboard on it. And you're going to fill in the divots, if you have divots, on any of your fixed sights. So I'm going to do that here and speed up through most of the video. Now you don't have to be particularly perfect or exacting when you do this. You just want to get it in the hole and then actually put some excess around the edges, kind of like what you see here. You can see I haven't really filled in the holes perfectly. That's just fine, and it's actually preferable. What we're going to do is take that razor blade that came with the kit. Again, careful not to cut yourself. Handle this with care. And we're going to scrape the paint from bottom to top on each of the recessed dots. It's going to push the paint in there, and it's going to make it flush to the overall metal portion of these sights. So we've got a nice even flush fill-in of those recessed areas. I was a little bit light on the right-hand one, so I'm going to go back and do that one again. And that completes that task. Only takes a couple of minutes. When you're done with that, start letting the paint dry. Recap your syringe, and you'll see here that we only used 0.2 mLs. So, and some of that was wasted when I initially ejected from the syringe. So it a little goes a long way. I'll charge that up under my flashlight here. Turn off the lights, and you can see that it's already glowing pretty brightly. Again, these aren't a substitute for tritium sights, as they'll only glow for around half an hour to an hour. You can see it beyond an hour, but only if your eyes are dark adjusted. Now, the next step I'm doing here is just for illustration, but it's important and recommended that you do this. Normally, you should wait 12 hours before clear coating, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to illustrate how you use the pipette and how you just try to carefully add the smallest amount that you can or really need to each of those recessed areas. And this is what they look like before clear coating, nice and flush, and this is what they look like 12 hours later when we let that paint dry and then we clear coat, and you have a little bit of a shiny appearance and they're well protected and they'll last a good long time. So let's look at painting a rear sight. This one is off a 45. Obviously, it's the safest ways to take these off your firearm, if at all possible. It's actually a lot easier to handle that way too. So that's recommended practice here. Use the masking tape to outline the area that you want to paint. Again, take that cap off, get another dispensing tip. You really don't need one for this particular application, but it does help with the flow control a little bit. And again, you don't have to be exact when you go through this process either. You just need to get enough paint on there that you're covering the edges you want. And you also want to cover over the masking tape just a little bit, because we're going to peel that off. And by covering over the masking tape, you'll get a nice straight edge. So get it on there. I try to level it a little bit as best I can. It's difficult. It's not really a leveling paint. But don't worry about that. The way it looks now is actually pretty good, and we're going to clean that up further in the next steps. So the first step is we need to let that stand for 3 to 5 minutes to let some of the water evaporate. And it's just barely starting to get pasty and dry at this point. And we're going to take that masking tape off all 3 edges, and we'll get a nice clean edge around each corner. And again, you really want to do this by giving the paint just a few minutes to dry. If you try to do it immediately, the paint is still apt to run on you and go outside the boundaries that you've set up. It just makes the cleanup and trimming a little bit more difficult in the next steps. So here I'll take off the masking tape, and you'll see that the edges are sharp, although the left-hand side is a little bit wider than the right-hand side. I should have maybe checked the masking tape before I painted. We're going to be able to clean all that up, though, so that's nothing to worry about. We're going to give this a little bit more time to dry, and then go back to it again. So we want to give this 10 to 20 minutes at least. You can give it 30 minutes, that's okay. Much longer than that, it will start to actually get hard and a little bit difficult to work with. So we gave it about 15 minutes in this video. And we're going to go back to our trusty razor blade. Again, careful not to cut yourself here, guys. And we're going to trim off the excess and the imperfections around each of the edges. In this job, the better job you do with your masking tape and your initial painting, the easier this job gets. But it comes off very easy, and you can get nice, clean, sharp edges. And here it's about 90% complete. I'll charge it up really quick. You'll see that it's glowing nicely. And we're going to move on to the next step here. We're not quite done yet. So at this point, we're going to let it dry for a good 12 to 24 hours. And then at that point in time, we can take our emery board that's in the kit, that's in one of our other kits actually if you bought it, or a regular file, and we can actually file this stuff down. When it's dry and hard, you can actually do that if it hasn't self-leveled and made itself flat. And then you can clear coat it too. Now in this example, we're moving on to our second kit, which is totally different. It doesn't have paint, instead it has all of these molded components. There are 14 of them with the kit. It has the tweezers, the glue, and the molded pieces you see here. It also has the sights that are in the middle of the video. They do not come with the kit. They're here just for the instructional purposes of this video. These parts are really small, so it's important that you use the tweezers to hold them. And you have some good eyesight. So I think what I have here, I believe this is a 7.3 millimeter model plastic rear sight to a Glock. And these molded parts that I have here in the tweezers are designed and dimensioned to fit over that white area. So what we'll do, and they may fit on some other models of firearms besides Glocks, but I designed them to fit this specifically. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our glue, and I recommend use the glue in the kit. Don't use cyanoacrylic glue, particularly the liquid type. It won't hold between metal or plastic with these particularly molded sights. You can also use DevCon 2-ton epoxy if you wanted to in this application, but these are pretty cheap super glue gel tubes, and they work actually very well for plastic and metal, especially with these molded sights in the kit. So you're going to take that glue and very sparingly and gently apply it to your sight, or you could actually apply it to the molded piece yourself, whichever is more comfortable for you. I'll speed up through the video here. We'll put that sight on, line it up with our tweezers and in our hands. The glue has about a 1 minute working time, so you have some time to line it up, and then you're done. Now let's go on to that front sight. Now the kit came with 6 of these dots that you'll see in just a minute, and all these dots are dimensioned so that they fit exactly over the white area on these plastic Glock front sights. So pick them up with the tweezers. Again, they're very small, and I just dropped it there. So the kit includes 6 just for the mere fact that they're prone to being lost. So you'll get some extras. And this goes very quickly. Put that glue on the sight, just a small dab. Press the molded piece on it, center it in the middle, align it, and that is it. That goes very, very quickly. It's very easy to do. Again, not tritium sights, but they will glow for a good half hour to an hour with a quick charge under light if you can't afford or don't want tritium. Next up, we have a 45 front sight, and what we're going to do here is take our molded piece that most closely fits the sight. We have squares, rectangles of various widths and lengths, and this piece is obviously too big, but it is the closest match. And what we're going to do here is take our emery board that comes with the kit, and we're simply going to sand it down and get it to the dimension that we need. You can use a metal file at home as well. I'll skip over all of that and show you the end result there on the left. You see that picture, and then we have our rear and front sights too. Last thing we're going to look at is some dot sights, the molded dot sights that were used on a different model. And I'm going to charge those up under the flashlight. I've done all the pre-work and put them on, and you can see they glow pretty well. So again, for a good half hour or so, maybe up to an hour. Last thing is kit number 3. It contains everything you saw in kit 1 and 2. So thanks for watching, and look forward to your comments in the section below.